the way he was explaining it to me, the coroner, about how some people that come in, they have been living on some other people's time for a very long time. And sometimes their bodies decompose faster. And sometimes they don't even have time to do like a lot of the, the regular type of post-mortem examinations, because a lot of their organs have already atrophied, and had been rotten for a very long time. They have been in this decomposition stage for a very long time, whilst still being animated. Now, I was very young, and you know why it didn't shock me? Because he was wondering why it didn't shock me, all the things he was telling me. Because my great-grandma told me this stuff when I was really little. There was somebody coming down the street, and they were coming up the street, rather. Let's say that. They were coming up the street, and I kind of ran behind her like, Grandma, I seen something that I can't even quite describe to anybody. It was just something wrong. And I'm not talking about non-human being. I'm not even talking about a humanoid. I'm not even talking about that kind of stuff. I'm talking about this person would be a regular human that took. Now they had something evil on them that only a kid or somebody that had, even if you couldn't see, you could feel it. And how she explained it to me was sometimes they eat other people's time. Even their own people's time. They eat other people's time. They take other people's time. And they take their own time here on earth. They will take on. And when you see that, it looks different. Now, that's kind of mirroring the thing what the coroner was teaching me, that some people, you have to almost, like the LB practitioners, and he didn't say practitioner. And the only reason why I say practitioner now is because that's how I can only describe it, because the person had ashes all the way up to their knuckles, okay? And, kind of he was joking around and saying, well, maybe they got their hand, maybe they stuck their whole hand in the whale, back then when people had ashtrays and there would be a whale where all the ashes would be, and maybe their hand got stuck in the whale. But that wasn't any type of cigarette ash. It was a person that was using ashes, like using cremated ashes, or something like that. And you could see that. Well, he was saying that sometimes, certain type of stitches would different now, because different type of stitches would be used, stitching, or the way you would sew a person up. Kind of, you have to be a little bit more careful with their skin, because they have been in this state for a very long time, and they knew their time was coming. And the weird part about this is that there was these black worms that came out this person's mouth that we had to even catch. We had to capture him and put him, and he had to look. Oh, he was happy. Oh my God, you see? Oh my God, he was happy. But anyway, to get them and to see about what they were, because they look like snakes, and they were animated, and so you would think that, and it would, but this person had came in on a quick enough time period where it would take a long time. They would have had to been burdened with a parasite in their guts for a very long time for it to make it through the digestive tract all the way into their mouth, and still be living and still be like very animated, they when you take them out, they're very long, you know what I mean, and black. I'm talking black. And so I never forget when I told my grandma, about this, she almost asked, I think she was asking me, are you going to go back? Are you going back up there? Woo! I met that. She was like, cause now that was the only one I told her about. I didn't tell her anything about the waterlogged man. I didn't tell her nothing about, you know, the time when he was eating enchiladas and stuff like that. And then, you know, the waterlogged man came, and I'm like, how, how Slay? You know what I mean? Like, I'm like trying to get a whole A+ in anatomy, bro. I'm trying to get like, top. I'm trying to get top notches. I'm trying to get top, you know, I'm trying to get like top marks. I'm trying to get great grades. And I use that job to to figure out anatomy, and to not figure out anatomy, but to get some good practice about the human body. I'm telling you, and you would be surprised, because there are some there's some more morticians that are just, even though that person might come in waterlogged and everything else, some morticians are really, really, really gifted, and they can make the person look pretty good, if especially if their genetics hold up enough. Like, I don't know, don't ask me how, but some of it, he told me that there's some that are really good. But what he also told me was, when that day that practitioner or that person came in, that you could obviously tell that had atrophied organs, that might be a closed casket, because of the fact that they're, like, their jaws and stuff like that might be, it might not hold up. All that stuff might not hold up the way they need it to hold up. And sometimes families, we don't know how long a family is going to, wait to claim this person, and if it's going to hold up between this time and this time. So we just do our job, and the morticians do their job. But most of the time, he had been in the business for so long that shit, he could tell. He could tell how they lived. He could tell how a person lived, because you know how they say the body keeps count? Well, yeah, it even keeps count post-mortem. You could tell if a person had a hard life. And I'm not even talking about a person that just, worked hard. I'm not even just talking about that. I'm talking about stress. Like, the body keeps count. Stress really shows up on bodies. Like, a lot of times people with, let me throw it out there. People with tension headaches sometimes have a very, they might have a skull, like their skin might be very wrinkly on their head, because they've probably suffered from a lot of tension headaches growing up, or just period. So that's just a PG-13 or a vanilla way of saying it, but you don't know people. And so when people go around here being angry or jealous of somebody because somebody smiles or has genuine happiness, and you don't know what they've been through to be grateful, because what you are missing is that person is in grand gratitude, massive gratitude, that you probably were fortunate enough to not to have to live through.